Hi, I'm Michelle Mercurio. Welcome to the show where we interview people who have ditched their plan to pursue their purpose. Let's dive in. Today, I am super excited because I am welcoming Geeta Nadkarni to the show. Geeta is a dear friend of mine, and she is also a mentor and basically a sister from another mister, a bestie who I didn't even get to meet in person until this past year, and here she is. So Geeta, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. I think our biggest challenge here is going to be to keep it to the 30 minutes.
Because we could talk for days.
Days.
Well, why don't we get right into it and you can tell us a little bit more about who you are.
So it's funny. I always find this question kind of hard to answer, don't we all? I think if I were to really boil it down, I'm someone who's really curious. I have a loud laugh. I love to laugh. That's something that, Michelle, we knew right away that we were meant for each other because we both have the most ridiculous, loud, head-turning laughs. Yes. And when we got together in person, and then when we got together in person, I swear all of Montreal was like, what is happening? So I'm someone who loves to laugh. I'm someone who loves to think. I'm not a small talk person. So I'm one of those people that, you meet us at a cocktail party and it's going to be like, do we want to do, big talk or no talk? Small talk's really just not my style. And I love just feeling who somebody is and just, leaning into that. I think we're all mirrors of each other. We have so much to teach each other. So I think that informs the way that I am, whether I'm being a parent, I have 2 kids, whether I'm being a coach. So I run a business coaching company, whether I'm writing books, I'm an author, or whether I'm creating a journal or a deck of cards, both of which are on the cards this year. I just like to come to it with the sense of curiosity, connection, and fun.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do with that.
All right. So Michelle knows this because she has been a client of mine. And that's actually how we met. That's how the universe threw us together. We still to this day don't know how we each ended up on each other's radar, but she came and worked with me. I help people who are really, if you're somebody who's really brilliant at what you do, you're really committed to the work in the sense of this isn't just some thing that you do because it pays the bills. It's more like you have this mission and it won't leave you alone. And you want to help people in some really deeply meaningful way. And coaching is just something that you do, whether you're paid for it or not. It just is part of who you are. I'm the person that you can come to who will help you take that idea, distill it into its truest form, and then put that out there up online so that you can monetize it and make a living doing this work that you were created to do. That's what I do.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about your books too. I wanted to quickly make sure that you mentioned the book that is done and the book that is about to be done.
Yes. So the first book is called How to Live Your Vision, and it's about all of the rituals and practices that I developed and used to take me out of victim mentality and we all have victim mentality, no matter how successful you are, no matter how evolved you are. There are times when you fall back into negative thinking, etc. So I developed a set of rituals and principles and practices that I use that take less than 15 minutes a day, honestly, because ain't nobody got time to meditate all damn day. You know what I mean? I have kids. I developed all of this when both my children were very, very small, and they have stood the test of time. Having another child, adding a newborn to the mix, a newborn who never slept, might I add, etc. And they help me stay connected to where I'm going. And so that's what that book is about. And it's for everybody. It's for anybody. But it will be really, really beneficial if you are, in fact, coaching curious. Either you're a coach, you're wanting to get into coaching, you want to become a better coach to yourself and to others. There are lots of great tools in there that will help you do that. The book that's coming out, so it's written, it's done. Now we're in design and things like that. And there's a lot more design to this because I'm doing illustrations for this book myself.
Lovely.
Oh, what?
You're doing it yourself?
I'm doing it myself. I know.
You're opening your highest chakra and letting it flow. I love it.
That's right. That's right. And my lettering is horrendous and I'm embracing it. I'm doing it anyway. So it's called The Power of Ponder. And it's about dipping into your intuition and becoming the teacher that you're seeking. Because that's what I want more than anything. I just want to become the teacher that I'm looking for. Right? To
I think
stop
we
constantly
all want this. I think we
crave
all
this.
want to be.
Agreed.
The reason that we seek out other teachers is because we know that there is something inside of us, right? But we also don't realize that we are also our own best teacher.
Exactly. And I think we seek out others because we're using their energy to bounce back or mirror the best and most evolved parts of ourselves. So if you want to do this on purpose, and if you want to do this, not just when you're in the presence of somebody else, if you want to do this on your own time, if you want to do this on command,
Right.
then this is the book for you.
Right.
And it's been such a roller coaster of a ride writing it, because it, as with really deep work, it brings up insecurity. So there'll be chapters where I'm writing and I'm like, what do I even know? Like, do I know what I'm talking about? And then I'll pause it, right? And it took me a lot longer to write the second book. I thought it was going to be so quick because I was like, I have the process nailed. I have help. I have support. I know exactly what I'm doing. It took so long and it was perfect because I would get stalled on something because I wasn't sure exactly whether I was saying it exactly the way I wanted to say it. It felt like it was not developed enough yet. And it was almost always because it wasn't the chapter that wasn't developed. It was the fact that I had not developed fully.
Right. You haven't. I now that I'm writing a lot, and as somebody who has a book coming out as well, I think about this as, if you ever want to not feel like an expert on the thing that you're an expert on.
Oh my God.
Write a book. Write a book.
Yes.
Because
100%.
it will help you re-question everything that you thought that you had already figured out.
Totally.
And there's always a new layer and a new depth. I love these books. You brought up 3 different things when we were just talking that I want to go back to, if we can. Number 1, the concept of meditation. I know that there are a lot of people out there, I being one of them, that fully embraces this idea that a meditative practice is necessary, that it is healing, that it is the thing that can bring you back to yourself in order that you can go out into the world and do other things. And I think that there's 2 things that I want to bring up here. Number 1 is that we go inward so we can go outward, and going outward is a piece of this. The other part is, though, that I think a lot of people kind of brush off this idea of time for meditation. I don't have time to meditate. So can you tell us a little bit about your practice and what your immediate gut reaction is to the idea of, I don't have time to meditate?
When I hear that, what it brings up for me, that when I have said those words, it is because I didn't know how to meditate. Because when you have a practice that you connect with, and I'm sure there are so many people listening right now that are like, oh God, I hope they don't talk about meditation again. I just want to shoot myself. Like, it's easy for you if you know how, but like people like me, I have ADD. I have trouble sitting still. I never really get into flow. If you're one of those people, I'm your people, because that was my experience, right? Michelle too. Like, this is not about white knuckling it. This is not about, going into a place of such deep discomfort because all stimulation is turned off. It's the opposite. I would never have time. I would pretty much never have time for that. Like, never. So meditation to me, or visualization, which is the practice that I use and I talk about in the first book, it's a practice that has become a place that I go to rest. It's a place that I go to replenish. It is a joyful place. So it doesn't require a humongous amount of convincing or willpower or so on and so forth on my behalf to go there, because it's it's the place where I can finally go and put all the burdens down.
Right.
And so there are lots of different, different ways. there are lots of different ways to come to it. So if you're doing your typical visualization way, like you have to like white knuckle and like imagine the perfect outcome, and like that can be really taxing. And I can totally understand why you would have juice for it one day and then not have juice for it on a bad day, for example. However, in the second book, The Power of Ponder, I talk about, different ways, different styles, different roads to lead you to that same place of contemplation. And so these days when I meditate, I dance. So I will literally like just dance like as my children will say, dance like a weirdo. So, put on music. It doesn't even have to be like all like woo and zen music. It could be like fucking rap. Like it could be
Right.
anything you love.
That is my meditation as well.
Right? It's just,
Put
it
on
could be
some
really
Biggie
beautiful.
and I'm in. Yes, I get you.
So I've been like loving these like Afro, soca, calypso type. I don't always, it's often in Creole, and which is a language I don't speak. And so I'll catch a French word here or there. I speak French, but I don't really understand the words, but I understand the feeling of it. And so then
Right.
it puts me in that space. So
Right.
just listen to music that uplifts you, that elevates you, that brings forth whatever is inside you. And sometimes what is inside you is ugly, it's negative, it's sad, it's angst, it's anger, it's whatever it is. Bring it forth, dance it out, let it express itself. Because if you allow it to come through, then the way I look at it is your emotions are kind of like small children. Like if you're on your phone, notice, any parent knows this is true. If you're on your phone and you have a small child around you, their behavior is going to escalate, and they're going to get to whatever point it takes, whether that's burning down your house or just like biting on your ankle, to get your attention so you can pay attention to them and not the phone. I feel like emotions are the exact same thing. They will escalate and suck up all of the energy that you have until you pay attention and acknowledge them, because they have a message for us. They have a warning sometimes, or like anger is the warning that a boundary is being transgressed, a need is not being met, etc. So like if you're like, oh, I'm really angry about this, okay, let me feel my anger, let me acknowledge this anger, then anger is like, oh, finally, then maybe she'll do something about this boundary that's being transgressed, and then it goes away,
Right.
and then you're free, and then you can do something.
I love this
crazy
concept, because I think that there's so many times that people are like, I will deal with those things when I have time. There's never any time. No. Actually, time is not on your side. This is something that I actually wrote in my own journal this morning, that line, time is never going to be on your side. There's no such thing. Time doesn't have sides. So if you think it's going to work for you or work against you, you're wrong. It just is. So you have to make those hard choices. You have to do those things. And the hard choices are, do I spend 5 or 10 minutes with myself actually feeling some things and working through them? Or do I stuff them down and let them continue to suck the energy out of me? I have that, and I think you and I have done this before, or maybe we've talked about it, that exercise about energy. Make a list of the things that you do, put a plus sign or a minus sign next to the things. Mm-hmm. Plus sign if it's adding to your energy, minus sign if it's sucking it away, a little dot or something if it's neutral. And then notice what's happening where you are actually seeing that, oh, if I'm just stuffing those negative things away, it's still there. It's still draining you. It's still depleting you. You're just not acknowledging it. And I think that what happens sometimes with meditation, especially, is people think, if I let it come out, it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
And, when I met you, this is one of the things that I thought too.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had a practice, and I knew that there were a lot of things I was letting go, but I really needed to let go of a lot. And then going through a lot of different things, right? With my folks dying and just a lot of those things. Allowing it to come up is never convenient, but if you want to actually pursue the things that are your purpose, you have to. So I love how you make time for it. I love how you have processes for it and practices. And, this is where I think you and I are very similar, again, in how we let these things come up and how they help define what's happening to us next.
Yeah. And it gets easier. It's like what Michelle said, when you first, if you've stuffed your feelings for 10 years or whatever, it might get really messy when you first let them out. Have compassion for yourself. And remember, it's kind of like lancing a boil, as ugly as that images. I'm sorry, but it's pretty freaking bang on, because that's really what it's like, right? When you cut open a boil and all the pus comes out, it's disgusting, and you're like, what the hell, right? And at first, it might feel like a bigger wound. It does. It does look like and feel like a bigger wound than it was when the skin was over it.
Right.
However, it wasn't healing; it was festering. Now, when it's out there, you can clean it up, and you'll be surprised at how quickly it will heal after that. Now, the biggest thing that I see that trips people up, and I remember we went through this with you as well, is when you let the feelings out, and if you've been stuffing your feelings for any amount of time, you'd be like, okay, I'm ready for my feelings to come out, and nothing comes.
Right.
Or you have confusion, or you're like, I need to make a decision about something really big. I've been through phases like this where I'm like, I need to make like a big decision. Everybody's like livelihood depends on this. I run a company, like it employs 14 people. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. And I don't, by the way, just so we're clear, here's what an expert really is. An expert is somebody that everybody else thinks they know what they're doing, and they know for a fact that they have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
They just have a little bit more fun. We're just doing it, and we found a way to enjoy the process a little bit more than everybody else. But that doesn't mean we have all the answers. That doesn't mean we come to crossroads where we're like, oh shit, now what do I do? Constantly. It's always day one, especially when you're somebody who is in expansion, where your purpose is growing as you develop the skills. Your purpose continues to grow beyond those skills. Man, it's always day one, and you're always a baby. You're always somebody who doesn't know what you're doing, and you're always someone having to take that risk, that leap, that step into the void where you don't know what's going to happen.
Thank
and when you
goodness.
live in that, right? It's when you surrender to it and allow it to be what it is, it's so exhilarating. But when you and I've done both, so I can tell you this for a fact. When you sit there in the place of, man, this should be easier by now. I should know what to do. I should have the answers by now. When you get to that place, that's when it doesn't feel good anymore. And you don't feel like an expert, and you give your power. You inevitably will give your power to somebody else.
Yes.
Card carrying member made this mistake. Oh God, more times than I can count to. Oh man, yes. If you want to watch me tell these stories in real time, by the way, I'm now on TikTok. That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. Geeta Nadkarni, who swore up and down that I would never get on TikTok. Look outside your window. There is probably some porcine flying happening. Yes, I'm on TikTok. And the story that I'm sort of telling, I'm telling many stories there, but one of the things I do is I dance in my kitchen like a freak. So if you want to watch me dance like a weirdo, this is your chance. And I tell little stories, like 1 minute. It's a minute every day. And the time that I have given away my power is when, after I was really, really, I've been an athlete by most of my life, or athletic, I should say, most of my life. I got really, really ripped and very fit and very strong after having my second baby. And then after having after having my first baby, between babies, that's what I meant. And then after having my second baby, it just all went to hell. I gained a ton of weight. I felt really uncomfortable in my body. I had pelvic floor prolapse. There were just all these imbalances. And I literally felt like I was in someone else's body for the longest time. And a core difference in how I approached my fitness journey the second time, it's such an important difference, and I really want to highlight this, is the first time when I gave birth, I was like, wow, I was in awe of the body that I had. And like every woman, I always had 5 pounds I wanted to lose. My body was never good enough. I had bulimia when I was in college. Like I had eating, I'd struggled with eating disorders and all this crap. So like, please don't think that I was like some kind of whippet or, or I was always at peace with my body, anything, nothing like that. It was the opposite. But when I gave birth the first time, I was like, wow, I have one of these incredible, magical machines that grew a whole other human and is now nourishing this human, like just by itself without me doing anything or even knowing how it works. I just this sense of falling deeply in love with my body, even though it looked absolutely imperfect. I had stretch marks and leaking boobs and like it was not pretty. It was by conventional standards in the least, but I loved it in a very surprising way that I never saw coming. And I remember my dad, who has his own body dysmorphia issues, at one point was like, at 4 months, my baby was 4 months old. I had finally gotten to exclusively breastfeeding after all kinds of struggles. And he was like, Geeta, you should really lose that belly. If, you should work on losing that now, because if you don't lose it now, you'll never lose it. And I remember thinking, wow, that is your stuff. That is not my stuff.
Right.
Like nobody talks about this body like that. And so I was not mad, but I was like this fierce goddess person. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. I had no idea. And so I didn't shame him because I knew he was coming from a place of love. He knew the pain of not feeling good in his own body as he was trying to protect me from that. So I understood where it was coming from. But I very clearly and energetically gave it back to him. I was like, this is yours to deal with. This is not mine. I'm not touching this. And then I went on this journey where I cleaned up my eating. And I'm not even going to tell you what the specifics are because they don't matter. I cleaned up my eating. I started working out in a way that made me, the workouts were incredibly hard, but they made me feel incredibly powerful. And so they were right for me. And everything I did worked. Everything worked. The second time around, I made the mistake of thinking that it was the things that I did that was what worked. Like the specific things I ate or didn't eat, the way that I worked out or didn't work out. I thought it was those things. I tried to force my body back into those ways of being because I was like, I want to go back to my size 6 wardrobe. Like I loved how sexy I felt in those clothes. And here I was, 65 pounds heavier. And nothing I tried worked. And man, I could take the rest of this podcast and a whole other show just telling you some of the things I tried over 5 years. Okay, so I won't bore you with the details, but trust me, I've tried it all kinds of all. Endurance running, weights, HIIT, kettlebells, keto, this, like you name it, I've tried. Intermittent fasting, none of it worked.
In fact, I started intuition.
all of it, right? Because it's none of the things. The problem that I had not addressed, the thing I had not moved towards was I was treating my body like there was something wrong with it. It had brought another child into this world. It had done so many things right. It got injured in the process. And I did not give it the respect and time it needed to get back on its feet. And here I was just being like, just fit into the pants already, like that was my focus. And it's not healthy. And I recognize that now. Yeah. And so finally I realized I am completely uncoachable on the body front. Completely, wildly uncoachable. I'm just like, do not tell me what to do. I do not tell my body what to do. You do not tell my body what to do. My body will do whatever the fuck it feels like doing. Right. And so it's so empowering because now I used to love running. So it's interesting and it's confusing. I just want to say, like, this makes me sound like I finally figured everything out. It's not quite so clear and cut and dried. I'm a person who loves running. I did 2 years of physiotherapy to be able to run a marathon, even though everybody swore up and down that it couldn't be done. And I was like, watch me, I'm going to do it. And I'm not one of those like, tell me I can't do something and I'll do it. I'm not one of those people. I'm just like, no, I love running. Right now, my body won't run. It can't run. I get hip pain. I can't even walk long distances. And Michelle knows I love walking, but I can dance. And I was like, okay, body, that's what you want. That's the message you're sending me. Well, cool. We'll dance. And I won't do it in that overachieving way. Our goal. So here's what I will offer you as something actionable that you can do that really changed my life. It's not about the specifics. For you, it might not be dance. It might be swimming. It might be something totally different. It's not the thing. Please let that come through. Because I think I made that mistake so many times. I thought, if I just tried this system that worked for this friend of mine, it will be the one. It is never the one. What is the one is this. I made a commitment. It was like I married my body. Okay. I made a commitment to my body. And here's the commitment. I decided that we each will be partners in helping the other fulfill her highest potential. So my job, my mind's job, my spirit's job is to help my body fulfill her highest potential. My body's job is to help my mind fulfill her highest potential, if that makes any sense. Now, and then the filter I use, so you need really simple tools that you can use to evaluate anything. The filter I use is, does this feel like love?
I
Sometimes you
love
can do
that.
a very, very hard thing, like holding a child down while they get a shot. That's a really violent, aggressive, hard thing to do. But when you're doing it, you can do it peacefully because you know that you're doing it from a place of love. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I'm eating a piece of chocolate and I really, really want it and it feels like, and I ask myself, does it feel like love? And you know what's funny? Sometimes it doesn't. And then I'll put it down and I'll be like, you know what? This was a distraction. This is something I'm doing to self sabotage. I don't want this piece of chocolate. It doesn't feel like love. And sometimes it does. So even the same action,
Yeah.
that's the magic of it. That's the magic of it.
It's not the thing, it's the
How you
person.
feel about the
It's
thing.
you, and it's how you feel. I offered a class last week, and it was about purpose and how to pursue your purpose and how to find, make sure that all of the things in your day are part of that, because we don't have enough time. And the primary question and takeaway for everyone is, does this make me feel the way I want to feel? How does this make me feel? And have I aligned everything that I am doing to that? For you, it is love. For me, it's love. So this is where you and I are very much the same, right? I feel like for me, it's love, but for others, it might be peace. For others, it might be, going through
Joy.
something and it's joy, or it's happy, or it's whatever that emotion, your primary emotion that you most want to feel. Does it feel like that? Because you can apply Geeta's story to everything that you're
Yes.
doing in your life. It's not the thing. It's really about you. And it's really about how you feel and what it is that you do and how you pursue that. And that's what makes all the difference in the world. We are the magic. The thing is never the magic. We are the
It's never
magic.
the magic. And it's so true.
Yes.
And this is exactly how I launched my company. This is exactly how I pivoted my company, was when I didn't. Everybody was like, oh, you can't do that, or it can't be done, or that's not the right way, or be careful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? It feels right. It feels like love, which is not to say I didn't have doubts bubble up. I did constantly, and fear. But I keep asking myself, like, does this, in the case of my company, I mean, I was risking everything. I was risking bankruptcy, homelessness with a small child, my marriage. I mean, my husband was not super on board. He was like, what is this? Why are you taking these crazy risks? We have no stability, no safety net. What are you doing? And I remember sitting him down and said, listen, I have tried to make this go away. It's not going away. This is what I'm created to do. I feel so alive when I'm doing it that if I don't pursue this to keep you comfortable, I promise you, I will hate you. This is the beginning of our end. So if I can't do it, so I'd rather split up officially and be friends and like do our thing. We have a child, we'll always be in each other's lives, but I cannot not do this. And that clarity and the fact that I wasn't angry when I said it. I was just so clear and kind of like sad that there wasn't a different way. It woke him up to his truth. And he was like, you know what? I haven't been a great partner to you. And I haven't been a great partner to myself. And that's what I need to work on. And then we both worked on the thing that we each needed for ourselves. And then here we are, like running a 7-figure company. And like, it's magic, right? Everybody sees the 7 figures and be like, oh, you guys must be so smart. I'm like, we just did this work of, of facing that fear and being like, I'm going to move towards the thing that I love. That it's always that combination. So this is what you look for. It's something that makes you feel absolutely alive, and it's something that scares the pants off you. It's both those things. It's always both those things in equal measure, like 50-50. You're like, oh my God, why the frick am I doing this? And then I'm like, at the same time, I can't stop. Then you know you're onto something. That's what you want to look for.
I love that magic. I think the last thing that I just want to wrap up and say is the fact that you have also shown many times that it's also about just going toward those things as opposed to going away. I know both of us see clients all the time that are like, but I can't until I do this, or I can't until I do that. And that's never the answer either. It's you can because you just are. It doesn't mean that you have to have something big to start. It doesn't mean that you have to do anything grandiose. The whole concept of the show isn't to have a plan, it's to be the plan. And
Yes.
when you're your own plan, things change and shift significantly. Anybody can hand you the thing, but remember, it's never the thing. It's
Yeah.
you. And it's you taking those steps forward. So tell everybody where they can find you and where they can follow along on this next step of your journey and what's next for you.
Awesome. So a simple way to find me is if you want to look at my coaching and explore that, it's impactwithinfluence.com. I'm all over social. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My handle is Life with Geeta. That's Geeta spelled with 2 E's, Geeta. On TikTok. Oh God. I'm Geeta Nadkarni on TikTok. You can find me there too. I was just going to say, a really great, easy way that has helped so many of our clients to get out of their own way is to say, just figure out what you want. I've detailed this process in a lot of detail in How to Live Your Vision, my first book. So you can find that on Amazon anywhere in the world. Figure out what you want. So have your want practice. Figure out what you want to feel. So the thing is never the thing that you actually want. It's always some feeling that you will be like, when I get this, I will be allowed to feel X, Y, Z, happy, joy, successful, whatever it is. So figure out what it is you want to feel. And then here's the magic question. This is not in the book, so take notes. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? That brings me one step closer to that goal, to that feeling, to that accomplishment. Right? So you're always filtering it through what is one action that I want to take. And sometimes the answer that your mind will cough up is like, I want to kill somebody. I want to you'll do, it'll be something like rude or sarcastic, right? And it's a simple thing. You'll be like, oh, that doesn't align with my values, so I'm not going to do that. You don't have to do it just because your mind coughed up the answer. But if you ask the question often enough, I promise you will have enough small, joyful, exciting, alive actions that you can take that will start to materialize the thing that you want and will lead to more actions and will create this positive spiral.
And the best part is there's no outcome that actually needs to be attained because you're already feeling the way you want to feel, which is why I'm doing this show, which is why I'm writing the book, which is why I'm interviewing people I love. It has nothing to do with anything else except for the fact that it helps me feel the way I want to feel, which is love, which is happy, which is joy, which is spending time with the people who matter, even if it's through an interview, because we don't get to see each other every single day. And that's how all of my own success happens. So I love this. I love you. I thank you so much for your time today.
Joy, always. I'm always looking for more excuses to hang out. You know that.
Absolutely. And we will definitely have to do a social call soon. But
yes.
Until then, I will make sure that we link everything that you talked about in our show notes. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Go ahead and like and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you don't want to miss anything, click that subscribe button.